welcome everyone. October Tradie Masterclass. To those present here, thank you for coming, and all of those listening in on the recording, whatever day and time it is. I know you'll enjoy this. This month's topic is, what are you worth? My question is, have you ever experienced or wanted to remove the self-doubt and negative thoughts running through your heads? Perhaps you also know that your business and indeed your life would be enhanced if you only knew how to manage those inner voices that continually hold you back. Endre Hoffman, the doctor of self-worth, has lived that life, and now through his programs can teach us how to remove those internal conflicts, resulting in a more confident and peaceful person within. Endre, I'm excited to have you here, and thank you for your time. Look forward to listening to your story and the opportunity to share your expertise. And over to you, sir.
Greg, I'm very excited to be here. And if you allow me to share my screen, that
I'll make sure that can happen, sir.
Amazing. I believe.
Go for it.
Try now. Can you hear me? Can you see the screen? Should be able to.
Good to go, sir.
Awesome. So I believe the most important personal development tool is your business. And at times, business owners are stuck because growth is optional. And it's really hard to find the learnings on ourselves. Just grab the chat. And I'm here to give you probably that Misty has the other side of Misty's presentation, because I've listened to it. I was so happy that she's giving you amazing strategies. And now I would love to maybe fill a bit of a gap about identity or who you are, to be able to say those, whatever you charge or whatever you want to ask for or put up your prices with confidence. And of course, mindset, I believe, is the biggest contributor to specific results for you. And of course, those results will translate into other areas of your life. And just to start with, I really believe in the future there will be more and more similar mindset coaches around in businesses, especially small businesses. And also I see myself more and more invited into bigger businesses. And, you know, large business need it as much as small businesses, but I'm here for you. And I wanted to ask you, because it's such a small and little group, if I could deliver on a specific challenge, and I've heard you're looking for margins, obviously making more money, probably doing a bit less or the same amount of work, what would you need to break through? What is the biggest challenge, or what are the voices in your head that are holding you back? And you can even unmute yourself if you want to, or you can just share it in the chat. I've opened up my chat window. Okay. Is there anything else? Roger that. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, and you'll be able to find me with, on separate channels on the internet. Dr. Self-Worth, that's the hashtag. And many times the answer is not what to do. It's rather who are you becoming, or what is your identity? Because you can imagine a business that turns over 500,000 or 5 mil, there's remarkably different mind there in that business owner. And I will talk about this later, but valuing yourself, your work, and perhaps jump from $80 to $150 sort of an hour, and maybe build a team that could replace you so you're not always at the tools, could be absolutely a quantum leap in your business. I'm hoping I'm at the right place to talk about this. And my mentor normally says that a business should be set up to create an incredible life. And I hope that's what you had in mind when you started your business. And if you have less than optimal results when you are hiring or you want to make that jump, well, what is your business teaching you? And just before I really jump into my own presentation, I really wanted to share a bit about myself so you have an idea who you are connecting with. I understand we are pretty close to each other. I'm in Ryde, and I've heard Gladesville and Artarmon. You guys are really around the corner. So I'm coming from Hungary. I was born in the 70s, and I was happy, as most of us, when I was born. I have a few pictures of myself doing the potty chat. Early on in life, I had some challenges with my father. We did not connect well. It was almost a minefield at home. There was so much criticism that I probably had decided I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. And this has just got worse and worse. And basically, I found myself trying to prove that I'm good or I'm lovable for the next 30 years of my life. And of course, I was not aware of this. I didn't know this. And it went to extremes of running marathons to just impress my father, being able to climb ice, crazy stuff. And of course, it didn't work. So I did never get the attention that I was looking for. And then it started to translate into social anxiety. I was very disconnected. I never knew whether what's the point of my life at all, or how I'm going to break through all of these challenges. All I knew that something was wrong with me. And it was an inner struggle. And of course, my father was running a business. It was a small business. He had 12 employees, plastic molding, and he was full of anxiety, anger, stress, and he has brought it home. And I see him to this day as a failed business owner and a small business owner who has not been able to overcome his own mindset challenges. And when it came to a decision whether I will take the employee path or whether I will take 10% of his business, which he has given to me, I never wanted to work with him or follow him. I actually never wanted to see him. It was that bad. And I chose career in banking, and I went to work there for 5 years. And of course, I never felt safe. I never felt confident there either. And then I decided probably I need to leave the country. So I worked myself out of the environment where my father was. First, I moved to Ireland. And here's my father and my grandfather. They've been running the same patterns of everyone is dumb and everyone is to blame but themselves. And basically, I fled to Ireland. I worked there for a while. And then later on, I moved to New Zealand, and I decided that I want the freedom that my family never had. And then to work out my mindset challenges, I started to seek out spiritual gurus in several countries. I traveled to 60 or 65 countries just to find some answers through secret monasteries. And I was hoping they would tell me what's wrong with me, why I'm not feeling good enough, or why I'm not able to overcome these mindset challenges. And of course, they couldn't tell me, but I decided to work 9 months each year and then drop the job. And parallelly, I started up a few businesses, and they have all failed or was just floating on the surface. And the first one was back in Budapest about 15 years ago. And I could not get results or sustain my results. And of course, I had no idea what was going wrong, but I realized that later that my business was just a mirror. And I landed in this personal development space for the next 10 years. And I went to seminars with Anthony Robbins, John DeMartini, the biggest names in personal development today. And they actually could not really help me. Although I spent over $100,000, results did not really show up. And about 10 years ago, I've come to Australia, and then I fell into this trap again of working hard, being able to provide for my family. And I started up 2 side hustles, and eventually it got so bad. These patterns were keeping me totally a victim that at nights when I was to say my bedtime stories, it has become a slapping competition because I allowed my children to slap me in the face if I fell asleep. And it was terrible. I realized at one night that I've become my father. I'm not around. I'm working 12, 14 hours a day, and I'm not even present when I'm here for the family. And then I made a decision, and then I became committed to change this. And if that was the last thing in my life to become an inspirational father or run a business that's successful, I thought I will put every effort, every resources, money into it because I thought it's impossible. And of course, I was looking for someone who could open the doors in my mind to be able to unlock these patterns. And it wasn't going easy, but eventually I have become the doctor of self-worth because somebody was able to help me when I really committed. And this brand is coming from 30 years of pain and struggle. And now I can say for the last 5 years, I've become an inspirational father. I have a wonderful family. My children are homeschooled. And of course, I'm helping people each day. And I'm resolving challenges with their minds that seem to be a roadblock which they have never been aware of. And I really want to jump into my small presentation because from here, I really want to help you. And because this is a tiny group, I want you to maybe drop anything in the chat if you have a question, because I want to deliver on, your questions or doubts, and I might be able to be more interactive than usual. So the last thing about me, I'm giving back to those who cannot afford it. I had picked up this 10 years ago. I started these heart-centered revolutions. You can find it on Facebook. It's called Visit Orphans Today. So wherever I travel and I take my kids, we usually stop by at orphanages and we give them what they want or what they need. And I'm inviting more and more activists to do the same because there are places, and even probably in Australia, where people just can't afford, especially since the pandemic, what they need. And I would love you to be part of this initiative. So self-worth to me is parallel to your power, because if you're able to switch you off or switch you on, then achieving and creating results will actually not be too difficult. And if you look at this key that I'm offering to you today, this key has a head. And I believe sometimes results are to do with your headspace, and business problems are just the symptoms of headspace. And if you have the right strategies, and I believe you have here with Misty, and probably Greg is helping you a lot, you put this thing in place, you become unstoppable. And so you'll be able to actually express your values through your prices, and you'll be comfortable to ask for more. I believe self-worth, your power, is showing up in every area of life. And I'm talking about emotional health first. That's the area that is pretty much the relationship with yourself. And I believe that's where things start from. Physical health, I actually failed on most of these. Relationships, as I said, I almost lost my wife and children. Luckily, they have stuck with me. I believe money is, of course, a symptom when we are failing on self-worth or power. And of course, the business itself is at times teaching us about ourselves or about what is the missing piece. And peace itself, I believe, is what we all deserve, and not stuck in employment, which is, I believe, at times with small business is a slavery to your own business, where you end up exchanging your time for money and building a structure for, giving the work to someone else, where you be able to drive your business forward and have time and space to strategize. I believe is something that you really need to have a look, if you haven't, to be able to actually have a life and not being stuck at work at the tools. And also, I believe a mirror is sometimes who are you attracting to work with? Because I believe there are reflections of yourself through the people you are dealing with. At times, that reflection is your customer or your clients, especially if there are recurring events and experiences that you have. And I believe it's a lot to do with your beliefs. I brought you a quote from my book, and I will probably drop this here in the. You can get the copy of my book easily from this web page. Should be able to see from there. A business never outperforms the psychology of the leader. And small business, it is very, very tricky, because probably you or your small team is at stake. And of course, this, I'm not too sure if you heard about the book, How to Become a Six-Star Business. It's an Amazon bestseller, and I want you to maybe order it, because there's a lot of strategies in parts of the business, that cogs that need to be aligned to be able to attract new results. I have brought you, though, a list of symptoms, and I started to call these mind viruses that are at times holding people back in businesses or at leadership. And of course, I've become a specialist at removing them. And I will just run through fast: treated poorly, feeling powerless, times pleasing others or not connecting well. I've seen a lot of business owners feeling insecure and looking for outside, validation through money or shiny objects, people, house. And of course, it's not going to work, because that validation needs to come from inside. We'll talk about that later. Or having that self-doubt, that doubting Thomas in your head. And again, feeling that you deserve more, and somehow it does not show up. Clearly, there's a misalignment there, and I will talk about that later. At times, it's anxiety, not doing maybe videos, at times public speaking, or talk to more people when it's time to promote ourselves. Comparing yourself, challenges around boundaries, and I have to say, sometimes those things are showing up with family members, and those things seem to, come through and show up in business as well. At times, resistant to set proper goals or getting connected to those goals because there were too many failures. Or that was me. Like, I've set goals because I knew how to for 10 or 15 years of my life, and I really have not been making much progress. I was pretty much stuck. At times, fear of success, fear of failure, cannot afford to hire. It may be a reality for now, but if you carry that belief in your head, it will be your reality for later years or maybe for decades. Haven't got the time. There's plenty. Fear of rejection, that's a big one, especially when it comes to dealing with clients or customers. And some addictions normally creep up when the mind is unable to resolve them. And this normally happens almost unconsciously. But to really highlight how the mind works, I will start right there, because I believe your mind runs your business and your results, and they actually do not teach this in school. And I hope it will change one day, although it may not be aligned with governments to really create a lot of self-driven and free people, business people, who could actually do what they want, because that creates harder, situations to control a lot of people. And you might have heard about conscious mind, unconscious mind before, and I have read hundreds of books about this, and you maybe have been, learning about more and more if you were looking for the roots of your challenges. But see, until you get this, you are almost fighting against the programming that you may have. And what do I mean to get this? To get this, I mean, use every possible way to change and implement change inside your psychology. And I have tried many ways for years, but luckily I ended up being the change maker myself. And luckily I have a method that works. I'm not selling therapies that are just out there on the market. And my clients, as they look back to their earlier version of themselves, they are kind of out of the fog, and they can't believe that they have been in that space, but that only happens when they are out of it. They're able to get a reality. And where I think most business owners are stuck, because we're always able to get to a certain result, but then there seems to be this ceiling, and at times it's a glass ceiling, and we don't know why we're bumping against it. And it could be a number. Maybe you are 100,000 number. Maybe it's 150 or 200,000, but it seems to just hover around that number, and then we kind of keep sliding back, or at times we create unconsciously situations where we just do not really break out of that barrier. So what really happens is results. See, we have these wonderful goals. Probably you have them, what you want to achieve, for a certain number per week, per month that you want to get. But on the other hand, the mind is perfectly creating the results. Sometimes they say that you deserve, but I would be more specific here. I would say your mind will exactly deliver your subconscious needs. It's not actually looking at what you want at all. It's not interested. And if you're able to hack into that programming, which is in the way, and this is where I normally tend to come into the picture, I'm able to create almost like between conscious and unconscious mind, this new piece where they become your team, when they are able to empower you. And that normally comes with peace in your head, actual peace, where the doubting Thomas goes to somewhere else or look for another mind, which then, of course, will be in struggle. And I believe this mind is a fertile soul, and it will create what it's been programmed to create. And this is where normally the conflict starts to rise. And the other problem, this mind has some absolutely disempowering habits. It loves to explain things. And that kind of explanation is normally quite disempowering. And it takes the blame. And it may have taken the blame for you for a long time. And this then becomes an absolute mind virus. And these mind viruses can be resolved, or you can heal from this. It does not have to stay with you for the rest of your life. But when these things are running and the conflict and the struggle is on, normally people find a let's say, a temporary solution. And I want to congratulate that you are here, because it clearly tells me that you are learning and working on yourself. But see, that temporary fix at times is almost like a band-aid, and it becomes a addiction. And at times the addiction is addiction to doing. Now, that was me down right bottom. I worked 12, 14 hours a day, and I was telling to myself that I will get the results. It will change. I just have to push harder. And it did not actually work. Some people are, going down pharmacology, a few drinks here and there, or gambling, but it's because the mind just can't deal with its own programming, or this roadblock is just too hard to deal with. And of course, then it needs to create a temporary solution for peace, or to wind down, to be able to find some solace or peace. And the root of the issues are probably normally a lot deeper. And this is the work that I love to do, to really go behind. And of course, to that outcome, honesty and really look under the surface is a must, because you can't resolve things that you are avoiding or repressing. And these are normally emotions that you're dealing with, or thoughts that keep attacking your actual goal that you have in mind. But to give you a bit more background about this mind, is I really want you to highlight, I want you to understand why there is the pessimistic doubting Thomas in our head, and how come it has started to operate. Because it has a very good reason. See, the mind that you are operating has not changed millions of years, or let's say thousands of years. And not long ago, there were actual predators out there, and we had to learn mechanisms to survive. And the mechanisms are normally belief and emotions. And of course, what did we do? We pretty much avoided anything that was dangerous, or if we were able to hide in a cave, that was the best thing. And then we kind of went, hunting when we needed to, but it was pretty much around survival and gathering and hunting. And of course, if I want to look at two of our little predecessors from Ice Age, I've got them up here. Imagine if there was an actual real threat, which is a life and death type of threat. And these two, one of them was the optimistic, the other one was the pessimistic one. The optimistic would have said, we're okay, it's not going to hurt me. Well, one has survived, and that guy has been able to pass on the genes to the next generation. So pessimistic, danger-seeking mind was actually the absolute payoff for survival. And it has served hundreds of generations to survive. Look at the population today. They're absolutely paralyzed, focusing on the problems, although the media does an amazing work for them to really look at the problems or what's wrong, but they're not able to make decisions and following through because they are stuck. And what I really want to open your mind to, what if that predator was your dad or mom, or someone from the environment when you were brought up has been putting you suggestions, or was an actual threat to an empowering mind that could take your business to the next level. Or at times, there was actual physical abuse at the wrong time when you were really emotionally very vulnerable and you were charged with emotions. Now, how does these programmings or conditionings are installed? And I want to give you this nice little example of the imprint phase. The imprint phase is your aged sort of 8 to 10, there is substantial research out there where we are always aligning to the environment and pretty much picking up the best way to be accepted, to be loved, to be cared for, being fed, and pretty much do everything to get that level of safety into our life. So at that time, conscious mind did not exist. So pretty much early years of your life, you've been suggested, you've almost been hypnotized with a lot of things. And that is pretty much running most people's lives until early age. At times I've worked with people in their 60s and 70s, and we found blocks, limitations from early years of life. They could have come later at a sort of traumatic event. And of course, we still run by these programs. Now, what is this exactly, and how does this work? Because these are beliefs, these are connected to a memory bank in your mind. And I want to explain this a bit more. How are things recorded? Well, an absolute full sensory recording has been in place since the day you were born. And that is pretty much everything that has happened from early years of your life. And that is, giving you an absolute blueprint of attitudes, recorded people's behaviors, people's attitudes. And at times these are authority figures, at times uncles, at times school teachers, at times experiences that you've been through, decisions, attitudes, they start to be taken on board. Because, at times when we are at that moment, we are able to be told about reality and we just take it on. And of course, they are able to then stop you when it comes to really step into that place of power where you are looking for new results or new solutions to your business. And I had a call, I believe, maybe last month. It was a client and she was absolutely triggered at work. It was a boss and she felt this mocking boss, feeling triggered, anger, sadness, all of the things. And she was calling me that, help me. I am at this place and I can't deal with this situation anymore. I want to leave. I will run away. And I said, well, let's find out what's actually happening to you now. And let's get to the bottom of it and resolve it. And when I had a few questions, it was a 15-minute toilet breakthrough. But we found out that she had an experience early on in life. Dad was that kind of mocking, patronizing person in her life. And it's been the hundreds of person doing the similar behavior to her. And she could not, of course, deal with this because she was always triggered. And of course, we were able to, release her from that place where her left ear actually blocked up. The mind couldn't handle this anymore. So physically, she felt sick and of course in tears, but we were able to get her through this. And ever since, it never came back. So what are these beliefs, emotions, values, and stories, experiences, and decisions and attitudes? What do they do? Well, they're able to put almost filters in front of your eyes, and you start to see life unfold in front of you, at times customers, or at times in your business in certain ways. And some people call it the baggage that some people, carry, and the baggage is becoming more and more of a limitation that seems to play out in life. And this kind of baggage or package is creating new filters in front of your senses. And of course, I said multiple senses because we have 5 senses. It is operating all the time and every time. So your attention is fixated on unconscious dangers. I found quite a few business owners who felt unsafe if they actually got their breakthroughs and become successful. Or some of them, they felt, well, my friends, my best friends, or my family won't accept me anymore. And of course, this baggage then is becoming the absolute limitation. And the other problem that, there's a good example here. So imagine you are on the airport and you must have been flying before. Like there's a cacophony of noises, like you're sitting in a cafe, having your little cake and coffee, you're reading a newspaper, maybe you're flicking through things, listening to music. And remember, you had been focusing on traveling to somewhere. Let's say you're flying to whatever, you're flying to Perth. And there's all these noises out there, but the filtering works and your mind is doing its job perfectly. If you have the goal in sight to actually travel to Perth or fly to Perth, through that mess, through that noise, when you hit that gate 89, flight to Perth boarding, somehow, magically, you're able to pick up that exact information that you need. What do? Drop the coffee, finish it, and you're able to make your way to the gate. So the mind is pretty much eliminating a lot of information that you may never going to see. And I will want to go into this a bit more very soon, because this is the key to change at times business results. And this is how it works. If you are able to see somewhat or some tiny percentage of what's around you and what's in front of you, then Google is a great example, I believe, to help you understand how the mind works. Like imagine the internet. You are probably spending certain time on the internet. Probably you would look at 100 or 150 websites, right? But there are millions of websites out there. And your experience of the internet is exactly the 100 or 150 websites that you're looking at. That's your perception of the internet. Whereas, there's a whole lot of information out there. And this, everything else for you, almost non-existent. This is exactly how the mind works. But I've got even more for you, because the mind is hanging on to that blueprint. Why is that? The mind early on in life decides that this kind of survival is a lot more important than thriving and really take your life to the next level. And that kind of survival is driven by human needs. You may have heard about them. Normally it's around feeling safe, having recognition of feeling in a place of power. At times you want variety, love and connection. And I've met business owners where these needs, with the best intention, have been taking them out of the game of business, or they kept them at a certain place because they didn't realize it, that connection to someone they loved would be ruined if they started to take business to the next level, or they would never feel safe again. And the mind is a lot stronger than actual goals that they wanted to achieve. So this blueprint that I've told you about is pretty much the programming that you brought and you've been installed. And at times there are certain bugs or viruses in it. And it pretty much traps a lot of people in business and in life. And of course, they end up in repeating events. The worst is that some people do not pick up on it. Like for me, it was taking decades to realize what was going on. But for most people, they never get to tap into their best potential or to really, get amazing results, which I believe we all deserve. And then events, information, or business starts to talk to you with repeating patterns of events or repeating lack of results. And that's very exciting because, as I said, your business is teaching you. If you are able to learn, the problem is this: growth in business is optional. And most people never realize the lessons. I didn't, certainly. And I meet a lot of business owners who have no way to see it. Like, I want to explain it why at times you can't see it yourself. It's because you're able to see so little out of reality. And I really want to go into the mind now. And the question is, are you awake and conscious to learn from your business? Because it is teaching you every day. The problems are absolute teachers that if you are able to learn and grasp the learnings or seek some help, then they will be just becoming stepping stones to the place where you want to go or where you want to take your business. And how does this actually work? I really want to give you an amazing, if you're a numbers person, then here you go, I'll give it to you. Normally, and it maybe even more, research and studies tell us that, there's bit per second information, 2.5 million is bombarding your senses each second of the day. And the human mind is only able to process 134. Imagine how much you are actually deleting, erasing to be able to function. Your mind would probably fry and freeze down. So what is the mind doing? It will start to automate. It will start to automate your responses, your everyday behavior that's probably repeated. And when reality comes, let's say a client, and that moment is throwing you all the information that is there, you obviously will apply the filters, as you always do, unconsciously, your frame of references and beliefs, and you will lose 99% of what's in that situations. And of course, you'll probably end up repeating similar results or same outcomes. And what really happens is less than 1% is what you can really absorb and work with. And that's a huge limitation if you're missing most of what's happening out there. And what I normally help people with is to create a different 1%. If you had a limitation with your 1% because it says I can't raise my prices or it's too hard to hire someone, then clearly you have some filters because that's what you see. And it's spooky when we start to change the filters, there is another reality. There is another reality that starts to be real for you. And you probably have seen other business owners who are, smashing their goals. And they don't seem to be much smarter. They do not seem to be working huge hours. Like, how can that happen? And see, I love to bring that psychology and bring that and model it to almost reprogram your mind, to have a new version of you inside your head. Because what would happen then, that reality that you're seeing, which is not much, I created a nice black screen for you and really just put one little eye in the middle, is what you pretty much see in the front of your eyes, or what you can hear with your ears. We really need to change it if we want different results, on top of the strategies that we are using. And of course, in this sense, reality as such, it might sound spooky. You might want to say, I've gone too far, but I want to give it to you that reality is almost like a white screen, and the business results are on this white screen. But normally there's a projector running in front of white screens. And like, imagine yourself, if you didn't like what's on the screen at home on your projector, would you start to try and scratch it or override it? Well, you'll probably say, well, I need to change the film, or I need to change the computer or the program what's running, because I don't like this outcome. I don't like the film, or I don't like the results that I'm seeing on the screen. And in this sense, and this is a big one, your business is a projection of your subconscious mind. And to me, that's the most exciting thing, because I love to go to that place and change the blueprint, which is pretty much a blueprint to your results or business results. Now, I normally discover when I work with people certain limitations and certain emotions, and you might experience some of these: regret, frustration, shame, remorse, times feeling of fears, sadness, not understanding or confusion, feelings of unworthy, not deserving. And these are the typical ones people carry around, and they seem to come from the blue, and they seem to just recur, or not feeling not good enough, or not having the confidence to do what you want. And of course, this is the baggage at times. And I believe the emotion is the glue that really keeps you with that baggage. And there could be, of course, some thoughts and stories that are holding these emotions in place. Because of course, there's that inner voice is constantly chatting. And most of the time, it's not empowering at all. And the other side, which I love to help people to transcend to, is, from anger to peace, from sadness to feeling happy and excited, and from fear to feeling loved and accepted. And this is an inside job. Funnily, when this happens inside you, then it tends to be a new experience with customers or clients. When someone comes from guilt receiving is a big one. When you're not able to charge your prices, and you come to supreme self-worth, it becomes easy. It becomes natural to, there's always an energetic shift that takes place. And of course, when we carrying these at times opposite polarities from parents or from people from the past, at times we either start to repress the anger. That was me. I started to be my own father. When my father was 20,000 kilometers away, I was angry at myself because I took on that anger. Or at times we externalize it when we become reactive or angry with others. And we don't understand why these behaviors seem to just pop up. Normally they pop up because there is a trigger. And I love finding triggers, and I love neutralizing triggers, because the idea is for you to really come back to the present, because you can do the deals in the present, you can hire in the present. But when you have all of these negative programs running, you're actually not connecting. Now, how are you not connecting? I really want to just show you that because
Andre, we've got 3 minutes.
3 minutes, geez. Can I make it 6 or not?
You can make, I'll go your halves, 4.5.
4.5. All right. So
I'd love to leave a couple of minutes for questions or comments at the end.
Yeah, I didn't realize I went so far with time, but so what really happens is this: at times that the opportunity is right there for you, you running these mechanisms, the coping mechanisms, holding yourself back, and you become not ready to receive. And you find these setbacks, but basically you play out the old behaviors, and there comes the negative voices in your head. And of course, the question is, are you going to have a winning team? And this is where I become a bit of a specialist for a lot of people who says, well, how could you take a new path in life and be able to overcome all of this? Well, probably you need the team where you have the specialist with you when you need that mindset shift at every major jump in business. But I will jump now into the last page because unfortunately I'm a bit of out of time and it was my fault. I wanted to go through a few small, I'll leave it there just for you to be able to pick up on the recording. These are examples that I was able to help people through these limitations on money or income, or not being able to grow. At times, the video that I've sent you, that's a really good example where someone was not able to hire, whereas we've changed that belief, and she's now found the best employee she's ever seen for the last 15 years, and now the business is able to grow. There was a whole lot of others where rejection patterns were running, normally pinpointing, and I'm able to shift this with the person, but I'm a bit of in a rush now to get to the end. The question would be that I would want to ask yourself, what are you avoiding now in your business? And that would be your takeaway or sort of a home play that I want you to challenge with and really find out what is exactly the story that you're running. Why are you not taking on action? Or why are you avoiding certain things? But as time is a bit short and taken away, I happy to take a few questions, but also I wanted to give you sort of next steps, and I don't want to disappear. So ask me a few questions if you can, or pretty much reach out to me and call, and we will set a time and I'll be able to help you. Normally, clients with me work either in group or one-on-one, but because Greg called me from CC, I realized that probably I could set up a small group for you guys and really show the results that you're looking for. Is there any questions?
I'm sorry.
Go, Jake. No, you're good, Jake.
Sorry. Is your book on audio by any chance, or is it just hard copy?
Well, I do have, and I'll drop it in the chat as well for you. I do have a YouTube channel. I actually listen to YouTube when I'm driving or when I'm working at times. Not this kind of work, but sort of with kids. I'll drop it here for you because then you should be able to find me. And it's not an audio book, but at least it gives you exposure to, I've got tiny videos. I pretty much give away a lot as far as how to start to apply some of, tiny pieces of breakthroughs. And of course, the fastest way is to really have a chat with me. And at times it's a half an hour, 45 minutes. And I love to I do the Sherlock Holmes work. Like, what is the big roadblock that you are dealing with? And then make a plan or, do it in a group. Any other questions?
Yeah, Andre, you obviously do coaching sessions. How much are they?
Well, they are different, but the groups that I'm doing now is sort of $1,000 for 10 sessions, and one-on-ones the price is changed because I don't exactly know who I'm working with, and I can't actually work with people who are not committed. So
No, let's ignore all that. But basically 10 sessions, $1,000, approximately $100 session. No, that's good. Good price. Yep.
that's the group. One-on-ones normally from sort of 250 to 500.
Okay.
And I love doing the changes which brings, money on the board. And then normally my clients will see and able to, verify that there's actual results in their business, not just talking about internal change. Because I believe internal change is automatically bringing outside new results. And that's what excites me the most. Any other question?
I think you gave me a lot to think about there, Adrian. Andre, I think you gave us a lot and we've got to think about it and process a lot. I will tell you what I did like, though, if I can give you a takeaway that I enjoyed from you, is in the coaching world. I've never heard anyone say this before, but basically the mind needs a solution for peace. That is my takeaway. That is so true. And I've never heard another coach say it. So I really enjoyed that. And the other one was business should be set up to create an incredible life. And if it's not incredible, what does that say about you? Now, there's an interesting thought to ponder, is what does it say about us if we don't consider our life the incredible one that we plan it to be at the moment? So, yes. So what changes need to be made? So I enjoyed that. Thank you. That was my take home. I really like those two ideas to ponder.
Thank you, Misty. Is there any other takeaways, boys? That
I'll jump in, Andre. I have two, and one is a question: is what are you avoiding? And you've got to be really dead set honest with yourself if you're going to answer that question. And the overriding statement that I took away is, do you want a new version of you inside your head? And again, if the answer is yes, then, take the next steps. And again, be incredibly honest. Look at that person in the mirror and just ask, would you like a new version inside that head that you're looking at?
Yeah, the funny part is, though, I did know, or I had a rough idea of what my issues were, and yet I could not resolve it. So the mind is so tricky. It creates these sideways actions where, again, it finds ways to create the same results, which are exactly aligned to the subconscious needs.
Yeah.
Any other best of?
Could you just unshare that screen, Andre, and we'll quickly fly around. And any takeaways, Alan? Have to unmute first, buddy.
Not really. There was a lot in that, and it would take me a month of Sundays to try and digest everything I think Andre was trying to get across, to be honest, and extract what works for me. But I'm actually quite happy in my head at the moment. I'm pretty comfortable with where it's at. A lot of other people aren't comfortable with where my head's at, but I am.
That's their problem, isn't it?
I loved it.
Cool. Matt?
There was a lot to take in there. I think probably, I don't know quite where to start. I think there's probably some work that can be done, and it was good to listen to. Thank you.
Cool. All right, that's why we record these, so you can go back and have a listen. Paul?
Hey, look, a whole lot to digest, but up in the beginning of it all, a couple of little highlights I noted down to move forward on. Build a team to replace me, and just some issues and hurdles. A couple of things that I've just noted out of what Andre had said. Try not to be a slave to the business. I need to set goals for a better result for the future. Awesome. A few things I'm going to renote from there.
Nice. Thank you. Neil?
Look, I think one of the benefits that we've all got being part of the same network is you can have a look are what others are doing. And if you want to improve your business, you can look to others who are already doing it in exactly the same business and take a lead from them. And if there is any roadblocks there, you can say, well, if they can do it, why can't I? And go from there.
Cool. Jake, any further gold nuggets?
Yeah, no, just getting out of my own head. I did the thing that you mentioned definitely stuck out about really questioning about yourself and the 5 stages that you had, you know, anger, you know, all that kind of stuff. That stuck out to me as well. Just evaluating. A lot of the time I do get caught up in the business and I'm leaving to work instead of having that. But yeah, just trying to set boundaries and you know, take it as it comes and all that kind of stuff. That was probably the biggest part that I got from it.
Cool, thank you. Misty, any additional commentary?
No, I'm going with what you said too. The do you want a new version of yourself? But what are you avoiding? Yeah, what are you avoiding by changing your price? Like, what are you avoiding? And I completely get what you say at the beginning, Andre. And you said, like, I give out the strategies. I'll give you sales strategies. I do mindset. I just go, well, too bad. Don't worry about the mindset, but it's true. We need people like Adrian who deals on the mindset side, which is some of that confidence stuff that, you know, on one hand, if you sell, the confidence will be there. On the other hand, you need the confidence for, which is an angle I hadn't quite thought of, Adrian. Andre, was the confidence to put your price up in the first place. Just a bit of confidence about yourself to put your price up. Hey, I can give you the strategy on how to overcome, on what to do with that. But the confidence to do it in the first place is an angle that I've never really thought of. So it was it's nice to sort of see to work out that different viewpoint as well that I tend to not pay too much attention to. So yeah, thanks for that, Andre.
Awesome. Yes, Andre, thank you. We're bang on time. For those who are listening on the recording, all of Andre's contact details will be part of the recording, etc. So please reach out if you want a new version of yourself in your head, and just reinforce that business ownership is lonely, but not when you're part of our group. So I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen in and spend some time on yourself.